Very much. And this is the time we're going to introduce our speaker for this evening. And I was privileged to host Doug and Penella. And I met them at the airport on Thursday. And the first item off of the carousel was a guitar, and I'm an avid guitar player and blah blah blah. And so we spent the entire ride over here talking about music and everything. So I just want to formally apologize to Penella and thank her for her patience and letting me indulge that conversation. And I pointed out, and I don't think I really made this as quite a challenge, but I actually had mentioned to Doug that I could probably put together about 40 minutes of music in lieu of telling my story. I could start out with partying songs and beer drinking songs, and then kind of get into some bluesy, kind of problematical songs, and then kind of drift over into some songs of agony and despair. And then maybe a few songs of hope, and then songs of salvation and redemption, just to kind of round out the thing, But he's got about 80 minutes worth of stuff he's got to do. So what I was hoping was that maybe y'all would consider in the next few years having him back, and maybe he'd have all that together, and we'd have a musical night. So with that, please welcome Doug R. Break a leg, bud. Yeah, I think you can handle it.
First time you had that?
There you go. Break a leg, bud.
Aloha, ohana. My name is Doug Rowell, and I am a grateful alcoholic. And I'm grateful to be an alcoholic, and I'm grateful to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have a friend in Pacoima, California, that says, name's Louis L., and he says, I love Alcoholics Anonymous, and I love just to be sober. And that's the way I feel. I'm very touched to be invited to do this. I want to thank Tammy for calling me. When Tammy first called me, I looked at my phone, and I mistook the 808 area code for 888. So I was certain that it was a telemarketer, and I said, yeah. She said, this is Tammy. I'm calling from Maui regarding the MauiFest. Oh, hello. And I'm delighted to be here, of course. And this thing is so well put together. Can I ask that everybody who is part of the committee or has worked on the MauiFest this year to please stand? Thank you. Thank you for all your work. This is great. I want to thank Bob for coming and picking up Penella and I. Penella. What a beautiful name. And my fiance's name is Penella, and her father just made that up out of nowhere. It sounds like she was born here instead of in Compton, but. She's one of the gifts of this program. We're going to be married in September. And I've been married before in sobriety. I was 13 step when I was 21 days sober, and And, and they said, don't make any major decisions in your first year. So I let her make the decisions, and we ended up going out, and then had a nice time. So we went out again, and then she moved into my house and stayed there for 9 years. And we got married, and we were married for 6 years, and then we just kind of drifted apart. That happens sometimes. So the first 15 years of my sobriety, I was in a monogamous relationship with an alcoholic woman. And the thing is, we were both working an AA program. And so, when we broke up, it was just because we decided to go different ways. We had different interests and not that much in common anymore. And, the reason I'm saying this is because when we split apart, we're still friends, good friends. There was never any fighting, cheating, lying, stealing, anything. We just said, hey, it's been fun, and went separate ways. And plus, I'm very grateful to Randy because she taught me how to ask questions. I'm not a question asker. I don't know if anybody in here related to that part of the hula where you're going this way and okay, I got it, and I'm going over here. That's pretty much my story, and I'm not going to bother you with asking questions because there's a part of me that says, if I ask a question, they'll think I don't know the answer, and that bothers me. So I don't want to look stupid, So I like to hang around with somebody I think knows the answer and sort of direct the conversation that way. And then, if I want to know the capital of Peru, I get it going, So somebody says, what is the capital of Peru? And somebody will say, it's Lima. And I say, that's right. That's who I am. But my ex-wife, Randy, actually taught me to ask questions. She's a funny woman. We were in bed one night, and I had my leg over on her side of the bed, and she grabs my leg like a log, and she throws it over. She goes, God, get over on your own side of the bed. Geez, you sleep like Jim Parks. And I'm laying there thinking, I don't know any Jim Parks. And if there's anybody in here who knows Randy, Randy's a voracious reader. So I really can't take a risk of going, who's Jim Parks? Because she might say something like, oh, I guess you're not familiar with For Whom the Bell Tolls, Who's Jim Parks? You never read Peyton Place? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm laying to think if I know any Jim P, or why I don't know why she'd say that. I was promiscuous, and I know she was before we got together, but geez, I don't bring them into our bed, I'm laying there thinking about this, and how incredibly insensitive. And I'm working on this resentment, and it's really building. It's doing a good job, and I know I'm going to have to say something. If I don't, it's going to get heavy. It's going to get like a lead overcoat, and about 3 days later, she'll say something like, did you mean to leave your boots in the dining room? Something simple, and I'll go, boots my ass, bitch! Boot down on this! Who's Jim Parks? And so, I know all I have to do is ask a simple question before it gets out of hand. And so I bit the bullet. I said, I'm sorry, honey. Am I supposed to know who Jim Parks is and how he sleeps? And she starts laughing. Brandy's a cackler. She's like, Jim across the street. I didn't expect that. And I said, Jim across the street? Yeah. You know how he puts his truck so you can't park in front of him or behind him without blocking the driveway? You sleep like Jim Parks. So if there's anybody new here, let me tell you, you can learn some stuff asking questions. pretty much what they're for. I should let you know that since my very first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, September 26th, 1986, hasn't been necessary for me to take a pill of any kind or any mind-altering chemical or alcohol into my system. And necessary or not, I drank on the way home from that meeting. I didn't. I get it. I understand now, but at the time, I didn't get the necessary part. And it was a good meeting, I guess. You know, it was. I went back. I mean, I didn't go there to get sober exactly. I didn't go there to get sober at all. I went to see what was going on. I had a couple of friends that had gotten sober, a man and a woman. They weren't like a couple. They were both drinking buddies of mine. And within 1 year, within a 6-month period, they both got sober. And I missed them as drinking partners, but I thought it was good because they really needed it. I mean, they were bad alcoholics, and they started. You know, when that sometimes you hear people say, watch your actions because you may be the only big book that somebody sees. And that's what happened with Barney and Teddy. They would do things like show up on time, you know, be where they said they were going to be when they said they were going to be there, and dressed appropriately and speaking in whole sentences, you know, and I was impressed. So I thought I'd go to AA and check it out. And I went one night. Somebody told me, if you want to go check out a meeting, go over to Van Nuys Hospital, Valley Presbyterian Hospital. It's a great meeting there on Friday night, speaker meeting, big meeting. They'll leave you alone. It's a lie. I mean, everything was true except they'll leave you alone. And because, you know, they don't leave you alone. People see somebody new, they come up, hey, you're new, welcome, hey, first time here? Yeah, well, welcome. How long are you sober? Well, I just, you know, I'm not here to join up. You know, I'm just kind of checking it out. I'm auditing the class, you know, sort of like, and they had, it was a big meeting, a couple hundred people there, and it was in a subterranean community room in this hospital, and it was, you know, they had nice coffee and literature, and everybody seemed to be, you know, dressed nicely, and just tickled to death not to be drinking. And I didn't even sit down. They had some empty seats. In fact, I just kind of leaned against the wall, you know, over by the door. And there was another guy doing that too on the other side of the door. And I figured, okay, we're like the cool section here, you know. We were so cool we didn't even talk to each other. But people would come up and say, hey, would you like to sit down? There's some seats right over here. I said, yeah, I'm watching. I get it. People come in, they claim a seat, they sit down, a jacket, a purse, some keys. No purse, no jacket, no keys. That seat's available. I can sit there. I'm a figure outer. Okay, I got it. Actually, I may not be staying. I'm just, you know, I'm checking it out, and I'm kind of busy. You know what? I got sober 20 years too early because now they have Bluetooth, you know, and like nothing says I may not be available. I may have to leave any second when this important call comes through, like a piece of flashing electronic jewelry, you know. It's just, and but I didn't have they didn't have cell phones when I got sober. Some people, you know, had mobile phones, but they were in briefcases, and they were big, and most people didn't have them. Some people had pagers. I didn't even have a pager because, you know, nobody wanted to contact me. But I had a garage door opener I got in a thrift shop, and I had it, you know, hooked on my belt, and you know, so I look like important, and every once in a while I just get tired of being with you and go, oh, I got to get this, and you know. But I'm over at this meeting, and people are telling me to sit down. Yeah, one lady, I tried to explain to her. I said, "Hey, you know, I'm not a joiner. Okay, I'm a loner. Okay, I'm an outlaw. I'm a desperado, lady. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I'm a misfit. I never fit any place in my life. I didn't fit in school. I didn't fit in the workplace. I didn't fit in my own damn family, lady. I'm surely not going to fit here in Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, hug, hug, kiss, kiss. Isn't it good we're not drinking? I like drinking. You know, I drank on the way here. You know, I'm gonna probably drink on the way home. I don't see why I wouldn't. I'm just checking it out. Okay, just leave me alone. You know, and They do like, instead of, like, I thought I was explaining to her how cool I was, and instead she's looking at me like, is this guy cute or what? And, I'm not cute, lady, I'm cool, okay? And, so I'm like leaning against the wall, and they started their meeting, and they have, now in Southern California, I know there's a lot of people here from Southern California, see, and I don't know how you do it in Hawaii, but in Southern California they have birthdays. Most of the country calls them anniversaries, but we call them birthdays, and we sing, and we have cakes, and you can take cakes all week, or if you don't happen to be in your home group at the time, you can come back and say, my birthday was like 3 months ago, but I couldn't get over here. I've been real busy. And happy birthday. Everybody sings it. It's a big deal. And so they had a birthday that night. And the secretary said, we have a birthday tonight. And I'm thinking, what does birthday mean in AA speak? Birthday. And she said, we have a birthday for Ruth, who is 18 today. Yeah, everybody, birthday. It's a birthday. Somebody's actual birthday. So I'm looking around for Ruth, some 18-year-old tiny hiney, Ruth gets up. And man, if Ruth is 50 if she's a day. You know what I'm saying? And first thing I thought was, God damn, if she's 18, she should stop drinking. And, but she didn't look bad. She looked good. She looked real good for 50. She looked kind of whipped for a teenager is all. And so then Ruth comes up, and then these 3 younger girls come out with this cake with candles blazing, and the whole group starts singing, happy birthday. And I'm telling you, 200 people singing happy birthday in 4 different keys at the same time, and loud. They were happy about it, I have a musical background. I was a little, and many of them were not even committed to the key they started in, and the weird thing, they had a piano up. They had like a piano on stage with a sheet over it. A covered up piano. I thought, 200 people, somebody plays a piano good enough to play Happy Birthday, for Christ's sake. And I thought, I should jump up there and rip that sheet off of there. Hold it, people. Here I come to save the day, Happy birthday. But I said, okay, I already told them I'm not staying, so I got no lines. And go on, it's a short song, I can handle it. I look over at the other cool guy who is tone deaf or something, because he's... All right, I'm all alone. And then Ruth gets up and she says, I'm Ruth, I'm an alcoholic. And of course, everybody's like, hi, Ruth! This is some level of lameness I never imagined was available to me. And I look over at the other cool guy, Ruth says, I want you to know that over these last 18 years of sobriety, I have attended a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous every single day. And I'm in the back going, what? What? Every day for 18 years? And everybody's like real excited, but she does. Yeah, that's great. Whoa, everybody's excited. I'm in the back going, you a little slow, ain't you, Ruth? You are not the sharpest pencil in the box, honey. How does that happen? I had a picture of her going home every night, and husband, hi, honey, how was the meeting? I got to go back tomorrow. Okay, But now I'm too entertained. I can't leave now, no matter what. And I'm staying. I've never seen anything like this before, and I don't care. I'm staying. But then the other cool guy. Now I know he's not cool, because he's a member. I don't know what he's doing back there. Maybe he's got like the newcomer catcher commitment or something. But he comes over to me and he sticks out his hand and he says, "Tell you what, you stay sober a year, we'll give you one of them cakes." Really. Just don't drink for a year and I get a cake. Oh God, I can hardly wait to find somebody to tell about this, you know. And, you know, but I mean, I knew he meant well. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. And I said, you know, I'm not much of a pastry eater. If I wanted a cake, you know, I just like stop at Safeway on the way home. I mean, I think they're like $5 or something. Or I could not drink for a year. I don't know. But now I can't. Now I can't leave. And there was, you know, people read stuff, and somebody talked a long time, and I don't remember much. I remember that people were nice to me, and they had a birthday, and the secretary held up this book, and she said, I remember she held up this book. She said, "This is our big book, Alcoholics Anonymous." She said, "If you're new, don't leave without this book." I said, "Okay." I mean, I said, I'll steal the book. You know, they had a bunch of them on a table with some other literature, and I thought, I'll just go pick up the book. In fact, I worked it out. I'll go pick it up and act like I'm fascinated with it. Look at that. I'll be damned. This is great. This is fantastic. This is really going to help me. And walk right out the door, and they'd say, "Let him go." You know, I had this figure, and I think that would have worked too. But then she screwed it all up by saying, if you're new tonight and you're financially embarrassed, we understand that. We've been there. We know what that's like, and we want you to have this book. So we'll make very liberal credit arrangements, including nothing down and nothing a week till you get back on your feet. So, like, now if I steal the book, they're going to go back to, is he cute or what? You know, it's like, look at that. He's stealing the book and it's free, you know. So, plus, if I steal the book now you'll think I'm not on my feet. So I had to wait until the end of the meeting, and I went up to the secretary and I said, "Can I buy one of those books?" She said, "What, the big book?" "Yeah, the big book, yeah. I've seen bigger. How much is it?" She said, "It's $4.65. Do you have that?" "Do I have $4.65 for a hardcover book?" "Yeah, I think I can handle that. Here's a $5. Keep the change." And she said, "That's right, I'll get you change." I said, no, hang on. Use that to help a drunk lady. I'm on my feet, okay?" And so I took that book home, and I stopped and I got a bottle of whiskey on the way home, and I got home with my bottle, and I poured a shot of whiskey, and I started to read this book, like not like read it, not like study read it, but you know, it was late, it was after the meeting, and I have this gift. I have this ability to look at the title of a chapter, any book, and know, you know, everything that's in the chapter. So it's a gift that I have, and so I'm like, for instance, I don't have to read the doctor's opinion because I know what's in the doctor's opinion. I've had doctor's opinions, and they tend to say things like, "Boy, you ought to not drink so much." And so, okay, and that skip that one. And then the first chapter, Bill's story, who cares? Chapter 2. Chapter 2, there's a solution. Oh, man, I'm on a roll. You know, I was like, I was raised on TV. I know, I see a sales pitch coming a mile away. There's a solution. "Young man, there's a solution to your problem. The 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous will give you a life beyond your wildest drunken dreams." All right, great. Skip that one. Chapter 3, more about alcoholism. Oh, that sounds fascinating. I have to really get into that some of these days, you know, when the no-dos aren't working. And chapter 4, we agnostics, kind of surprised me because I didn't expect to find a chapter called We Agnostics. In fact, I was real surprised. The two things that I didn't like about the first meeting wasn't the hugging and laughing. I liked that, actually. That was pretty attractive to me, and the cakes were fun. But there was two things that really bothered me. One was the not drinking for extended periods. That seemed excessive to me. And then there was the God stuff. I was totally shocked about that. Nobody had ever said this to me, but for some reason I thought that AA was the secular way to get sober without God. Because I knew you could get sober with God. My grandmother was a Pentecostal minister. She had a Skid Row mission in San Pedro. And I leave this out sometimes, but my grandmother evidently was an alcoholic too. I don't remember her drinking. She got sober when I was 5 or 6 years old, but she became a minister, and she had a Skid Row mission in San Pedro on Beacon Street. And Beacon Street in those days was a real tough area. It was people got killed there almost every night. It was mostly shooting galleries and saloons and hawk shops and my grandmother's little White Dove mission. And she would bring in these wharf rats and winos off the street and help them and, save their souls. And along with that came sobriety. So I knew you could get sober on soup and Jesus. I had seen that done. It just never seemed worth it to me. And, so when I came to AA, I was pretty sure AA was the secular way to get sober, the way the smart people got sober without God. And, I came and I heard God as we understood Him and power greater than ourselves, and humbly asked Him with a capital H and admitted to God and God. And I was, damn, the last house on the block is Sunday school. I mean, I felt betrayed in some way. But now I'm reading the big book, which the secretary had said was the only authority on AA, the basic text of the program. And it's got a chapter called We Agnostics. I said, okay, here it is. This is how the smart people got sober without God. So I read chapter 4. I poured a shot of whiskey and I read it from beginning to end. And I got done with it and I thought, okay, I'm spacing out. I missed the whole smart people get sober without God thing. And so I poured another shot and I read it again. Doug, focus, man. It's in here, and I poured another shot 6 times that night. 6 times I poured a shot of whiskey and I read chapter 4 like it's going to say something different, It's a trick title. If you're new and you're going to do what I did, let me tell you, the title of the chapter should be called How We Agnostics Came to Find a Power Greater Than Ourselves, which saved us from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. But I guess it's too long to put at the top of the damn page, so you just call it We Agnostics, and so people like me would read it over and over and over. But after reading it several times and realizing it's not going to change, some of what was in there actually got to me. A shocking sentence. It's very subtle and very significant, but it's shocking when you realize what you just read. And I know I didn't the first few times I read it. It says, we found that God doesn't make too hard terms on those who seek Him. And it sounds so simple that I think if I even thought about it the first time I read it, I probably thought, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if there's a power that created the universe, it certainly wouldn't have the kind of ego that would make me come to it in a certain way, And yet, it was contrary to everything I'd ever heard in any kind of organized religion, in my opinion. Anything I say about organized religion, I'm talking about my drunken opinion of organized religion at the time I read this. But it seemed to me that every sect of every organized religion said there were certain things you had to do or God wouldn't hear you. I'll tell you, my grandmother's Pentecostal church never suggested that God doesn't make too hard terms. If anything, it seemed to me they said just the opposite. Brother Van Dyke would be up there Sunday morning and say, Doug, and they said my name in less than a syllable. It used to make me crazy. Tell you something, Doug. Doug, we're very sure that God makes hard times on those who seek Him. Boy, God will not even hear your prayers unless you are baptized. And I don't mean sprinkled on the forehead like some Methodist. I'm talking about total submersion, son. That's why we got this tank of water for Christ up here. Come on up here, boy. We're going to soak you down, pull you up, washed in the blood of the Lamb. Praise Jesus. Amen. Somebody get the boy a towel. I mean, okay, I'm 14 years old. I'm going like, oh, here, they're going to drown me. She told them I touched myself. They're going to send my ass to Jesus. And you got to think fast. Brother Van Dyke, I would love to, but I have brand new jeans on. They're shrink to fit, and I got to ride my bicycle home tonight. So I'll tell you what, next week, boy, jump right in the Jesus tank for you. But I mean, if it was just the Pentecostals, you go, okay, well, Pentecostals are a little over the top. Yeah, well, yeah. But what about Catholics? I mean, it's one of the biggest religions in the world. My girlfriend was a Catholic. She had to go to confession, communion, confirmation, a bunch of other cons, so she could learn how many Hail Marys and Our Fathers were required to cleanse her soul of the various kinds of sins. Various kinds of sins. They got them categorized over there. Venial, menial, cardinal, mortal. Some of them you don't even have to do them. If you think about them, express way to hell, Whoa. Hey, that's kind of tough, But I went to church with them one time, and I was like, I almost drank the holy. I thought they were dipping in, going like that, but, they... Anyway, so I screwed up in the holy water coming in, and then we were sitting down. I thought they were going to stand up, so I stood up, but no, they're kneeling. So now I'm kneeling, they're sitting, and I felt like the middle cylinder on a 3-cylinder Indian, So I'm not going back there anymore. But they did all that stuff, they were supposed to do, and they were happy to do it. It brightened their lives, brightened their souls somehow. And they still couldn't talk to God. They talked to God's mom, It's like, hello, Mrs. God, it's Julie. No, don't wake him. Just tell him I love him. Okay, bye. And so, I mean, this is the way it seemed to me. And my friend Michael was an Orthodox Jew, and I like going over to Michael's house. Everybody I knew liked going over to Michael's house because it was a safe, warm place. It wasn't happy like happy, but it was a safe, warm place. You go over to the Rothberg house, and Mrs. Rothberg would act like she'd been waiting for you all week. And Doug, welcome to our home. It's an honor to have you. Would you like to join us in some wine and challah? Some what? Would you like to join us in some wine and challah? Well, I'll have some wine. I not much of a pastry eater, Michael and I went to a little restaurant one time, a mom and pop restaurant, and he tells the waitress, "Can I get the BLT, hold the bacon?" Mike, you know what a BLT is? It's like bacon, lettuce, and tomato, man. You take out the bacon, that's no B. That's like, it's a salad on toast, man. That's what you ordered, And he said, yeah, I know. I said, well, what's that all about? He said, well, to consume the flesh of the cloven-hoofed animal that cheweth not its cud is to offend he whose name cannot be uttered. What? Okay, that wasn't Yiddish. That was American. I didn't understand a damn thing you said. What'd you say? You said, pork. I can't eat pork. That's all. How come you can't eat pork? Because it will offend he whose name cannot be uttered. Who's that? I can't say his name. I said, Jesus Christ. He said, no, but you're close. And and then there were Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims. Oh, my. So I just said, yeah, okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. Here's the line. All the religions of the world on that side of the line. I'm over here making fun of them. That worked for me for a long time. And that's the guy that came to AA. But here I'm reading this book, and it says, we found that God doesn't make too hard terms on those who seek Him. And it goes on to say, you don't have to accept anybody's concept of God. A lot of times you hear people say this book is, the language is archaic and it's poorly written. Boy, there's an efficiency in that sentence that's incredible. You don't have to accept anybody's concept of God. Wow. Find one that you're comfortable with, it says. Find one that you're comfortable with and that seems to be fine with the creator of the universe. Doesn't have a lot of ego wrapped up in this, what you call him, so how you come to him. So that was made it pretty clear for me when I finally, after 6 times I read it, and I didn't have an epiphany. But what it did was like sort of put a foot in the door. So if an epiphany came along, I would be available. And there's some great stuff. I have heard people say, people more knowledgeable than me, that Chapter 4, We Agnostics, in the big book Alcoholics Anonymous, is the most important piece of spiritual literature in the English language in the 20th century. If that's true, that's an incredible endorsement. And I don't know, it's true for me. It's true for me. Of the spiritual literature that I've read, it's the most important. But I'm not an expert on spiritual literature of the 20th century. But there's a sentence in there that says, to be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live life on a spiritual basis are not easy alternatives to face. Well, that's because we're alcoholics, It turns out the Earth people think this is kind of a no-brainer. And it always amuses me when you say this at an AA meeting. This is a good-sized AA meeting. To be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live life on a spiritual basis are not easy alternatives to face. And we're all sitting here going, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Get yourself a clipboard and go stand in front of a Walmart sometime, This is an interesting experiment. Excuse me. I'm taking a survey. Would you rather die an alcoholic death or live a spiritual life? And if you do it, you might be surprised. Because like Normie's like, am I on candid camera? They really don't think this is a hard question. It's not really a big dilemma. They'll go get in the long line. A real inquisitive Normie might say something like, okay, when you say alcoholic death, you're talking about where you like puff up and turn yellow and choke to death on your own bile and blood and vomit. Yeah? You make it sound bad. If you do the Walmart test, you'll know if you find one of us. Excuse me, I'm taking a survey. Alcoholic death, spiritual way of life, and you get this. You gonna be here tomorrow? Only us. We're the only ones that have a problem with that decision. And I wasn't going to fit here. I went around telling everybody the first meeting I went to that I wasn't going to fit, I'm not going to fit in your little meeting. Go ahead on with your little meeting, I'm not a joiner. And I had to go back, and I went back, and it was interesting. And the more I went back, the more I came to believe that you people were like me, that I was like you. That you drank like me and you stopped. And a lot of people have a hard time with those two concepts. I really didn't. I believe that you drank like I did, and I believe that you didn't drink anymore. And I didn't know how. I thought maybe you were a different kind of alcoholic than I was. I was thinking that maybe you obviously were the kind that had to just stop, not ever drink anymore. And I was thinking I might be the kind that can just like, have a cold beer on a hot day. Have a glass of dry red wine with a steak. You know what I'm saying? Appropriate drinking. A margarita with a Mexican meal. Or sometimes just go get a fifth of whiskey and chug it down and have an inappropriate experience. But not all the time. Just like, when I wanted to. And so I was coming back to meetings and they'd say, anybody with less than 30 days, drug alcoholic. Anybody in their first 30 days, drug alcoholic. Do we have any new friends with us today with less than 30 days, with drug alcoholic? And now my first 8 months in AA, I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't have a home group. I didn't read the book. I didn't take the steps. I didn't know what a tradition was. I didn't have a commitment. I didn't believe in God. And I was drinking every day. Okay. All right. But that stuff aside, I had a pretty good program. Which was keep coming back. I mean, they say keep coming back, so that's what I did. So I came back, and after a while, one day, after I've been coming to meetings for a couple of months and raising my hand, I sat there, and somebody mistook that she mistook my arrogance for serenity or something, and she said to her friend, "Doug's got 30 days." And I realized what happened, you know, like, and I don't want to make her look bad, so I took a 30-day chip, and I had 30-day chips there, and I went up, I said, "I'm Doug, I'm an alcoholic. Anybody for 30 days, Doug, alcoholic?" And but they went crazy, you know, and so it's nothing, you know. No, really, it's nothing. And but now I got a sobriety date, 30 days before my first bogus chip, and I started going all over Hollywood and the San Fernando Valley taking chips, and you know, and I somehow I got my days screwed up, and well, things would happen. Like I went over to this place called the Valley Club, and I was there for a noon meeting, and there was two girls talking, and one of them said, "My sponsor says I can't have sex till I'm sober 6 months." So I took a 6-month chip over there, you know. I didn't know if I was going to get lucky, but I sure didn't want to get lucky and then find out I wasn't as lucky as I thought I was, you know. Like, how much time you got? 6 months, baby, right here, you know. I wish I had a life-size poster of what I looked like. I couldn't have got lucky in a women's prison with a pocket full of pardons, you know. Just like I was not somebody you want the dog to see you with, but anyway, by the time I got sober, actually, I had four different sobriety dates at 4 different groups, and I'm not recommending this as a program of recovery. In fact, I'm pretty sure that most of the people who do that die of alcoholism. But I guess it's what I needed to do to keep coming back. What happened was one night I came home from a meeting, and I would come home from a meeting with a bottle of whiskey, and I'd lay on the floor and turn on the TV and drink and think about what I heard at the meeting. This is what happened most nights. And very often I would pass out. And then one night I passed out. I woke up about 3 a.m., bottle's half full, TV's on, turned off the TV, got my bottle, crawled on my hands and knees across the living room, through the hallway into the bedroom to go to bed, and I stood up to... Some people call that pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. I just call it going to bed. I got in the bedroom and I stood up to get undressed, and I lost my balance. I fell and I spilled whiskey all over the bed. And I grabbed the bottle and I looked. There was a little bit left, but most of it was in the bedspread. So as long as I'm down there, I grabbed the bedspread and I started sucking whiskey out of the bedspread. And I don't know, a voice in my head said, "Hey, man, that ain't right." You thirsty, man? There's whiskey in the bottle. No, I'm not thirsty. I'm frugal. I'll waste my life, but I'm not the kind of guy to let whiskey evaporate in the bedspread overnight. And I saw what I was doing. I was done drinking. There was whiskey in the bottle, but I'm sucking whiskey out of it. I thought, I've been going to AA for 8 months, and I haven't learned how to not suck whiskey out of a bedspread. And I had heard people talk about hopeless losers. The big book says not everybody can get it. You know, there are those, too, who seem to be constitutionally incapable of getting this thing, you know. And I couldn't really believe that I was one of those people, but I had no evidence to the contrary. All the evidence pointed that I was a hopeless loser and I'd never get this thing. Wow. And I did a dumb thing. I said, "God, if you're there, please help me." And I heard a woman this morning at a meeting here. I think her name was Holly. And she said that her prayer of redemption was almost exactly the same thing. "God, if you're there, please help me." And I meant it. I absolutely meant it. It was a sincere prayer of desperation because I was out of ideas. But I didn't think anybody was listening. Not at all. There was no part of me that believed there was a God to hear that prayer. I'm not even sure I knew it was a prayer when I said it. But I said, "God, if you're there, please help me." And I went to bed and I went to sleep. And over the next couple of weeks, every day something strange would happen. The next day I went in my favorite neighborhood liquor store. There could only be one of 3 people behind the counter of that liquor store day or night. And every one of them knew me. If I put a $5 bill on the table, they'd give me a half pint of Bushmills and my change. And if I put a 10, they'd say pint or half pint. And I walked into that liquor store the next day, and there was a guy from AA there behind the counter. I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "No, what are you doing here?" Well, I just came to get some cigarettes, and so I got cigarettes, and I went to another liquor store and got my booze, and then I'm working at NBC a couple of days later, and there's a Mexican restaurant across the street, and I went over there to get some lunch, and I started to tell the waitress like a margarita, and the waitress is somebody I know from AA, and I'm in the Vaughn's Market in the liquor department pushing a basket. I reach up for a bottle off the shelf. Somebody from AA is pushing a cart towards me. Hey, one day at a time. Keep it simple. And this is happening to me every day. These weird little jolts of people from AA, and every single day. It did not keep me from drinking. What it did was create hurdles that I had to jump over to get a drink. And you know who I am. If there's a hurdle that needs to be jumped over and there's a drink on the other side, I'll figure out a way to get over it. But eventually, after a couple of weeks of this, it started to get my attention. I was just when I was up in Washington last week, I heard a guy at a local meeting say things started to happen to me faster than I could ignore them. And I thought, yes, yes, that's what happens to us, and that's what happened to me. After 14 days of this, I was on the way to work one morning, and I just killed a half pint of Bushmills, and I don't keep empty bottles in the car; they're illegal and useless. And so I rolled down the window and I let this bottle fling, and just as I let go of it, the guy from AA is driving towards me. He saw me and he waves, and he sees this bottle going bing, ding, bing, ding, and he said, "Hey, I thought, where the hell are these people coming from? Where the hell are these alcoholic people coming from? There's not this many alcoholics in LA County. Every time I reach for a drink, it's like those stupid miracles that people talk about in the meetings." I pull the car over to the side of the road, and I sit there, and I thought, all these things came to me like a slideshow. And I had been on my knees and said, "God, if you're there, please help me." And from that time on, I had gotten help, clearly. Little pain in the ass God jokes. The human quality that I've always admired and respected the most is a sense of humor. I don't know why that is. I don't even know if it's good or bad. I don't care. That's just the way I'm wired. I think a good work ethic might have served me better, or a little love and compassion once in a while, or honesty and integrity. But with me, it's always been humor, and God knows that. He did the original Wire job. When I asked for help, that's the way He got to me. These little pain in the ass God jokes, which may or may not have been miracles. I don't know. It may be that they were just coincidences, and the real miracle was that after 2 weeks of it, I came to recognize them, that I had asked for help, and I had gotten the help that I asked for. And I sat in the car that day, and I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. I didn't know I was at the second step at the time. I look back, and it's real clear. What I knew was that something like a warm fog came into that car, and I felt safe, and I felt okay. And I connected with my new friend God. And that was the beginning of my sobriety and the beginning of my hearing the music of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I love to talk about the music of Alcoholics Anonymous because there is a rhythm and a harmony and a melody that runs through this thing that makes the words make sense. The words, I don't know, when they, you come in and they say, give it away to keep it and surrender to win. And I remember some guy when I was new said, well, what we do here is put the plug in the jug. And I said, and I was thinking, I don't even have a jug. If I had a jug, I wouldn't put the plug in it. I never did before. If I bought a jug, I'd take the plug out of it and put the plug, I'd throw the plug away. I don't need the plug, and then, but I'm going, and he says, because what this is like the peeling of an onion. We go layer after layer after layer. And once you're a pickle, you can never become a cucumber. I wonder what he'd do if I stuck this cigarette in his ear. I mean, the words never made much sense to me until I started to hear the music, and then the words are constantly making sense. One of my favorite examples is when I actually had 30 days. I was going to meetings. I went to meetings, told everybody about my miracle, Oh, I had a major Bill Wilson white flash miracle. I keep coming back, and no, but really, yeah, keep coming back. And when I actually had 30 days, I went over to the Burbank group, and because my 30 days fell on a Thursday night, and Thursday was chip and cake night at the Burbank group, and I went over there to take my first honest 30-day chip. And I mean, I had enough chips to open a casino, but none of them were earned. And so when I had 30 days, man, I want to get that chip. And I went over there and I said, hi to everybody, and they said, okay, anybody for 30 days. And I got up and I took my chip. I said, my name's Doug and I'm an alcoholic. And they said, hi, Doug. And I felt like an AA member. I felt like I was part of this thing for the first time. I know now that I was a member before, even before I quit drinking. Anytime that I had an honest desire to stop drinking. But I never felt like one until I took that 30-day chip and everybody said, hi, Doug. And I sat down and I watched people take 60 days and 90-day chips and 6-month and 9-month chips and a 3-year cake and a 7-year cake and a 19-year cake. And I was just as excited about everybody else's chips and cakes as I was about my own. This was not a feeling that I was used to having. It's not in my nature to be excited about somebody else's progress when they're ahead of me. You know what I'm saying? But I was that night, and and I felt just a little bit of humility, and I was just high on the whole feeling of being sober. And at the coffee break, I went to get my coffee, and a guy stopped me and he said, "Hey, congratulations on 30 days." And I said, "Thanks." And he said, "You know what the secret is?" I said, "No, I don't drink, I guess." He said, "No, that's not it." He said, "We don't drink here, but that's not the secret. The deal here is hang on. That's what we do. Can you do that?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what I've been doing." And he said, "Exactly. Keep doing that." I said, "Okay." Now, you get 30 days. They tell you the secret. I'm like, "Oh, I know the secret." I'm looking for some newcomer to to share my experience, strength, and hope with. And before I could find a victim, there was a guy at the Burbank group. He just died about a month ago. He was just a swell guy. He was a Southern-born, glad-hand and backslapping alcoholic. They got him everywhere. And his name was Jim Baker. And he came up to me and he said, "Son, congratulations on that 30 days." And I said, "Thanks." And he said, "You know what the secret is?" I said, "Yep, hang on." And he said, "No, let go." And I can't tell you, at least a half a dozen times in the last 20 years, I have asked Jim, "Hey, did you guys set me up with that hang on, let go thing?" "Well, Doug, we don't do that, So I never really knew if he did or not. But that's the deal. The old timers are diametrically opposed to what the secret is. And yet they're both right. The guy that said hang on is talking about stay close. Keep coming back. Stay in the middle of the herd. They used to tell us stay in the middle of the herd. And Jim that told me let go is talking about let go and let God. Surrender. He said the war is over. You lost. That's simple. Words and music, man. When they read chapter 5, which they do at most meetings, and it talks about honesty, 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 honesty. Those who don't get sober seem to be constitutionally incapable, and even people with grave emotional and mental disorders can stay sober if they have the capacity to be honest. And rigorous honesty. God, that's some higher level of honesty, It used to scare me. I'm sober, but I don't know if I'm honest, It's never been in my nature to be honest. So many times in my life, I have lied when the truth would have served me better. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. Probably somebody in here can. It's just, before I got sober, maybe the most honest thing I ever said was my first wife said to me, "All right, Doug, I want the truth. Did you sleep with my sister?" And I said, "Not a wink." Because, you try not to mislead him if you can help it. But if I don't drink between now and Thursday, I was kidding about my sobriety date when I first started, but my actual sobriety date is June 7th, 1987. And so if I don't drink between now and Thursday, and I got a pretty good shot at it, I'll have 20 years of sobriety. And yeah, I have been impressed with people getting 20 years of sobriety, but I'll tell you what, I've never been impressed with anybody's 20 years like I am with my own 20 years of sobriety. I'm loving it, you know. And sometimes I lie. You know, if you're new, that may shock you. I hope not. Talk to your sponsor about it. You know, get a resentment. Pray for me. I can use it. I don't mean I'm a compulsive liar. I only do it when I'm divinely directed. And you know when God wants you to fib. You know, if Ponella says to me, "Baby, does this dress make me look fat?" You know. No, in rigorous honesty, you know. I mean, no, honey, I think it's the Haagen-Dazs, you know. It's I don't do that. That's rigorous stupidity, you know. I mean, the dress looked fine on the hanger. Let's go try it on that skinny chick next door. If it makes her look fat, then it's the dress. But you know, it's. She knows I'm kidding. It's funny, when Bob was up here Bob and I talked about music all the way from the airport over to here, and Ponella was in the back seat being quiet. She sings 10 times better than either one of us. You know, she's like a great singer. She doesn't need to talk about it. She just sings. And anyway, I listen to the words, you know, the words in the music, honesty. Tell you what, I lie to waiters all the time. Waiters are a waiter will come up and ask me, and he's not trying to screw up my life or anything. He doesn't know. He's doing his job. Sir, would you like a cocktail before dinner? You know, I don't have to hit him, or I just lie to him. You know, I say, no, thank you. You know, I mean, rigorous honesty. Boy, you know what? I'd like a cocktail instead of dinner. You know, sounds real good to me. I like a margarita about this big and a double a double Bushmills neat back. Keep them coming. I got a pocket full of plastic, son. You know, we don't part. No, come here. I'm just kidding. Turns out, actually, I have a terminal illness. It's like a mental obsession coupled with a physical allergy and spiritual bankruptcy. You don't want that in your nice restaurant, do you? And I found out that people in Alcoholics Anonymous misquote the big book. Happens every day. I didn't know that. I wasn't reading the book at first. I heard everybody saying it was important, but it seemed to me I go to meetings. I couldn't go to a meeting that somebody didn't quote the big book. And sometimes they give you page numbers. So in my magic mind, I figured out that all the important stuff would eventually be quoted, and sometimes with page numbers. I could give the impression of being a big book thumper without ever cracking the book, you know, and I have a good memory, so but what I didn't know was people misquote the book. They do it all the time, and if I may have misquoted the book tonight. I quoted it a couple of times. Said if I misquoted it and it bothers you, give me a call. 818-353-4607. 818-353-4607. And tell me, because I like to hear it. People call me sometimes. I'm a long-distance trucker. I was just listening to your CD. And you know what you said about the book? You know, I love that kind of stuff. But I didn't know it when I was new, and I thought everybody that quoted the book was on the mark. And this lady said, our book says, so I'm all ears, and she says, our big book says that our drinking was but a symptom of deeper underlying causes and conditions, which it does say that. But then she went on to add her own stuff. She said, if you don't find your deeper underlying cause and condition, you're going to get drunk. You'll drink again. Now, it doesn't say anything like that. It doesn't even indicate that. But I didn't know it because I'm not reading the book, and I thought that was out of the script. So I'm like, what? I don't know what my deeper underlying cause and condition is. I had done an inventory when I heard that, but but I don't remember anything that you could really say was a... First time I drank, I was 18 years old, and friends of mine had said, if you want to get in this girl's pants, you got to get her drunk. So I went and stole a quart of Rainier Ale, which was the national beverage of Garden Grove, where I grew up, and we went and parked, and I would have been happy to say, here, drink this, let me know when you're ready, I didn't care about drinking, but it just seemed kind of rude, so I opened it, I drank some, I handed it to her, she drank some, we passed it back and forth till it was gone. And I got a buzz. I got a nice buzz. First time I ever got loaded, it's like, man. And I mean, this is AA. People know how to drink here. We drink major quantities. But if you're 18 years old and you never had any alcohol, half a quart of Rainier Ale will work. Will give you a nice buzz. And turned out my friend was right. It's the first time I ever got drunk and the first time I ever had sex in front of a witness. So I said, I'm going to do both these things as much as I can the rest of my life. We talk about commitments in here. That's a commitment. And I did the best I could. But I started looking over my life. I said, I don't know what my deeper underlying cause and condition was. I didn't start drinking young. I didn't start drinking until I was 18. I didn't come from an alcoholic family. My mom and dad, my dad was the kind of guy who would buy a 6-pack of beer, drink one, and put 5 in the fridge and forget that they're there. I don't understand that kind of drinking. It makes me sick. But he never understood my kind of drinking either. He'd say, we were watching a football game one time after I was sober, and he's drinking a beer, and I went to get another soda. I said, Dad, you want another beer? He said, no, I'm working this one. He's had it for 45 minutes. I said, that's not working. I work the steps better than that, But he never, that's the way he was. My mom might be an alcoholic. I don't know. Because you can't tell because she won't drink. How would you tell? And so I asked her one time, how come you don't drink? She said, what do you care? Well, I'll tell you why I care, because there's such a thing as a genetic predisposition. It might be your fault I'm an alcoholic, so why don't you ever drink? Are you an alcoholic? She said, I don't know, maybe. When I was young, I drank, and every time I drank, I got sick, stupid, and obnoxious, so I just quit. And I said, you got to drink through that, There's a promised land beyond sick, stupid, and obnoxious. But she doesn't understand. She doesn't have the tenacity to make this program, So I don't know. I'm looking through my history. What the hell could possibly be my deeper underlying cause and condition? And then I realized, oh, man. Oh, God, talk about obvious. When I was 24 years old, I had moved from Orange County up to Hollywood to try to make a living in the music business. I was ready to do it. I was 24. I was armed to the teeth. I had songs and talent, and moved up to Hollywood. And I was working with some friends, and I'd get play guitar on somebody's album, or sing background, or play harmonica, or co-write a song with somebody, publish a song over here, starting to get a foothold. And there was a show that came to town called Hair, and in 1969, it was like this musical comedy about hippies. And I was one. I went to see the show. It's a musical comedy about me. So I went to see the show, and I fell in love with it. It's like, man, this is great. It was all rock and roll, and there was a character named Berger that swung on a rope and stripped down to a loincloth and spare-changed the audience and made fun of people, screamed rock and roll, this sex-crazed speed freak, alcoholic leader of the tribe, screaming rock and roll. I said, I could do that. And so the next day I called the Aquarius Theater and I said, hey, I'd like to be in your show. Now, this can't happen today. In today's world, if you did that, they'd say, well, if they even took the call, they'd say, well, who is your representation? Have your agent call us, and maybe, At that time, I said, I want to be in your show. They said, what's your name? I gave them my name. They said, what are you doing Friday? 1 o'clock. I said, you tell me. They said, come over here. We're giving auditions Friday. Come bring some sheet music. And so they wrote down my name. So Friday at 1 o'clock, I got an audition. Friday morning, I have my guitar out. They said, bring some sheet music. So I got sheet music, and I'm playing this song practice because I got to sing good because I know this is a sing and dancing show. And I don't know anything about dancing, you know. I don't know the first thing about dancing. I'm the guy up on the bandstand playing and watching people dance. I know what dancing looks like, but I never tried it. But I can sing, so I figured if I sing good enough, they won't care. So I'm practicing a song I really want to sing good, and I broke a string on my guitar. And it's hard to explain now, but like in 1969, hippies were like, "Oh, bad karma, man," you know. So. I went into my roommate's room to see if he had the string I needed, and it was there. It was right in the middle of his dresser, in its little envelope, the D string. And I said, good karma, dude. You know, so picked up the string, and underneath the string there was a little white capsule. I said, I wonder what that is. We didn't have a PDR. You know, you pretty much had to swallow test everything, and which is, forget about motor vehicles and heavy machinery. If you swallow it, you're going to know exactly what it does. And, if somebody dies, okay, don't eat the green shit. It's simple stuff. So this turned out to be THC, a synthetic marijuana. And by the time I got down to the Aquarius Theater, I was floating. Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah. Yes, indeed. And I felt like I could do no wrong. And my hair was long over my shoulders, it just swished when I walked. And I had these hip hugger bell bottom pants on, bells about that big, and then boom, boom, and no shirt on. Okay, I was like 50 pounds younger, and no shirt. I just had this vest. It was a vest with 6 layers of foot-long red, white, and blue leather fringe. Woo! It was a walking wind chime. And I walked over to the Aquarius Theater. I walked up the steps. I floated up the steps. I stood at the back of the room, and I watched people audition. These hippies are up there singing and dancing. I'm saying, they're good. They are good, man. And I'm just like, whoa. And pretty soon somebody said, is Doug Rowell here? And I said, yeah, here. Come on up. So I went up on the stage, and I handed my sheet music to the piano player, and he opens it. And he smiles, and he looks at me, and he winks, and he started to play. Bum, 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 bum. I said, wow! I feel good! And I went into this James Brown number, and I thought I was the Godfather of soul. Wow! I'm down on one knee and back up again. When I hold you in my arms, and I see these people going, yeah, and they're nudging each other, and I finish, and wow, wow. You could have shot me and I wouldn't have fallen down, and somebody said, can you do something a little mellower for us so we can just so we can get a range? And I said, yeah, sure, I didn't expect that, but I went into an a cappella version of Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay. And it was, the piano player picked it up, we were right in the pocket. And I made myself cry, And I see him go, and so the kid sings, and so I finished, and he said, we just got to see you dance, man. Okay, hit it. So the guy started to play, and I started, and I see my hair come around, and the fringe on this vest is, and I'm seeing trails. I'm like a tornado of trails. And I heard somebody say, Jesus, can he dance? Yeah! Because, alcohol and drugs did for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Of course they did. Why would we die for them otherwise, And they hired me. They hired me on the spot, but not for the LA show, which I thought I was auditioning for. They were auditioning for the Las Vegas show. And so I went to Las Vegas. And the funny thing about Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Hair Show had just come to Las Vegas. And originally they were supposed to play in Honolulu. But after they got together and they were rehearsing, somebody had the bright idea, people don't come to Hawaii to go to Broadway shows. And so we're going to lose money on this. So they moved the whole thing to Las Vegas. So That's the first time I was ever exposed to Hawaiian people in a quantity. And the name of our tribe was the Pakalolo tribe, which means pot, means marijuana, crazy smoke. And I was people go, hey, bro, you smoke that Pakalolo, you know, that kind, man. And so we were in Vegas for 6 months, and then we left Vegas and we went on the road. And I had been understudying that lead role of Berger, the obnoxious speed freak, sex crazy leader of the tribe. When we left Vegas, they gave me the pink slip. They gave me not the pink slip, the pink contract, the lead role. They gave me the lead role. So 3 years I traveled on the United States and Canada, 2 weeks here and a week there, and and all around. And people would come up to us after the show and go, "You were beautiful." The audience came up on stage afterwards. They'd go, "You're beautiful, man. Have some pot, brother. Maui Wowie, Panama Red, Acapulco Gold, Sinsamian." It's like, oh, great, thanks. They give us all this great dope. Somebody would say, "You like acid, man? Here, Osley, Purple Haze, Orange Sunshine, Window Pane." Okay. Some girl would come up and go, "Oh, God, you're beautiful. I love you. Take me." We go, "Okay." And it's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and traveling around the country and getting paid for it. I mean, it was a good job. But I looked back at it from my newfound sobriety, and I thought, yeah, they used me. They used me, So, I mean, you don't realize when you're being victimized, And so I called my sponsor. I said, "Hey, I figured it out." He said, "What did you figure out?" "I found it. I found my deeper underlying cause and condition." He said, "Oh, let's hear that." I said, Hair? Hair? Well, how about if we cut your hair off? You think you can stay sober?" I said, "Not my hair. Hair of the show. Remember I told you when I was a big star, I traveled around the country and, oh, yeah, I forgot about the big star deal. Yeah. I thought you told me you were loaded when you auditioned for that show." I told him too much. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, look, let me tell you something, Doug. Most people, most regular people, normal people, not alcoholics, when they go to interview for a job they really want, won't take a drug they can't identify. Okay. So I'm going to say, I think you had a problem when you got that job. So I said, well, then I have no idea what my deeper underlying cause could be. And he said, I don't know what mine is either. Don't worry about it. If you want to look for it, fine. It'll give you something to do between meetings. But meanwhile, go to another meeting tomorrow and call me tomorrow. And I want you to start reading that book. What, read the whole book? I want you to start reading the book tomorrow. If you can't read a chapter, read a page. If you can't read a page, read a paragraph. That is the most important direction that I have received in Alcoholics Anonymous. Read it every day. If you can't read a chapter, read a page. If you can't read a page, read a paragraph. And I mean, I've gotten great advice in AA, but that's the best. I still do that today. That's what I tell the guys I work with. And it works. If you're going to read the book over and over and over again, if you do that, and you can't do that without taking the steps, without getting the help that you need, and without helping others. And without hearing the music, this music of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're new and you're wondering, what the hell is this guy talking about the music of Alcoholics Anonymous? I think it's the laughter. I'm pretty sure it's the laughter. It is to me, If you shared a laugh with us tonight, you're already part of the music. Thanks for letting me share with you. Mahalo. My dad's alcoholic, and so one day I just didn't